When Monsters United, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed justify their brutal assault on Seth Rollins. What do you call it when two of the most destructive forces in WWE join together to absolutely obliterate the World Heavyweight Champion in an attack so vicious it left the entire WWE Universe in shock? You call a statement. You call it a declaration of war. You call it the moment everything changed for Seth Rollins and the entire Monday Night Raw landscape. And when Paul Heyman, the wise man himself, shows up to justify this carnage with his silver tongue and calculated brilliance, you know this is not just another beatdown. This is the beginning of something massive, something dangerous, and something that could reshape the entire championship picture in ways we cannot even predict yet. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, smash that subscribe button right now and hit that notification bell, because here at WWE Extreme, we break down every shocking attack, every calculated move, and every time Paul Heyman opens his mouth and changes the game. And trust me, what went down with Seth Rollins is just the beginning of this story. Let us rewind to the night that started this nightmare for Seth Rollins. The Visionary was riding the highest of highs. He just defeated Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion, to capture the Crown Jewel Championship. Think about that for a second. Seth Rollins walked into Crown Jewel, faced one of the best in the business, and walked out with gold around his waist. He was on top of the world. He was untouchable. He was the Visionary, living up to every bit of that nickname by seeing the path to victory and executing it flawlessly. The entire WWE Universe was celebrating with him. This was supposed to be Seth's moment of glory, his vindication, his proof that he remains one of the absolute best performers in all of professional wrestling. But in WWE, the higher you climb, the harder the fall. And boy, did Seth Rollins fall hard. Because while he was celebrating his victory, while he was basking in the glory of being Crown Jewel Champion, two absolute monsters were lurking in the shadows with destruction on their minds. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Let those names sink in for a moment. Individually, each of these men is a wrecking ball in human form. Bron Breakker, the second-generation superstar with freakish athleticism and raw power that makes grown men question their career choices. Bronson Reed, the tsunami of destruction who flattens opponents like they are made of cardboard. Separately, they are nightmares. Together, they're an apocalypse. The attack on Seth Rollins was not just brutal. It was surgical. It was calculated. It was designed to send a message that echoed through every locker room in WWE. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed did not just beat up Seth Rollins. They dismantled him. They destroyed him. They left the Visionary broken and battered in the middle of that ring while the entire world watched in horror. And the visual of Bron Breakker standing over Seth's devastated body, holding up the World Heavyweight Championship, is the kind of image that gets burned into your memory forever. That is not just a beatdown. That is a coronation. That is Bron Breakker declaring to everyone that the World Heavyweight Championship is his target, and nothing, not even the Visionary himself, will stand in his way. But here is where things get absolutely fascinating. The attack itself was shocking enough. Two monsters destroying the champion is must-see television. But then Paul Heyman enters the picture, and suddenly this is not just a violent assault. This is a strategic masterpiece. Paul Heyman does not show up for random violence. The wise man does not attach himself to chaos without purpose. When Paul Heyman appears to justify the actions of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, you know there's a master plan at work. You know that every punch thrown, every move executed, every moment of that attack was part of a larger strategy designed to achieve specific goals. And those goals probably involve championship gold, dominance, and reshaping Monday Night Raw in Paul Heyman's image. Raw General Manager Adam Pearce finds himself in an impossible position. He has to address what happened to his World Heavyweight Champion. He has to provide an update on Seth Rollins' condition. He has to maintain order on a show that just witnessed two of its most dangerous competitors unite in devastating fashion. And he has to do all of this knowing that Paul Heyman, the greatest manipulator in wrestling history, is pulling strings behind the scenes. Being a general manager in WWE is already the hardest job in sports entertainment. But when Paul Heyman is involved, it becomes downright impossible. Because whatever decision Pierce makes, you can bet Heyman has already anticipated it and has a counter-strategy prepared. Let us talk about what makes this alliance so terrifying. Bron Breakker brings the intensity, the athleticism, and the pedigree of being a Steiner. This is not some random rookie who stumbled into WWE. This is wrestling royalty with the physical tools to back up every bit of that legacy. Bron moves like someone half his size, but hits like a freight train. He has that rare combination of speed and power that makes him almost impossible to defend against. When Bron decides he wants to hurt someone, they get hurt. Simple as that. And now he has decided that Seth Rollins needs to be hurt badly. Bronson Reed adds a completely different dimension to this destructive equation. Where Bron is explosive and athletic, Bronson is methodical and overwhelming. Reed does not just defeat opponents. He crushes them under his weight, his power, and his relentless aggression. When Bronson Reed hits you with a tsunami splash from the top rope, you do not just feel it the next day. You feel it for weeks. You question whether your rib cage is still intact. You wonder if maybe wrestling was the wrong career choice. And when someone with that kind of devastating power teams up with someone like Bron Breakker, the result is a combination that might be unstoppable. But the real genius behind this entire situation is Paul Heyman. The wise man has a track record of taking already dangerous superstars and turning them into unstoppable forces. He did it with Brock Lesnar. He did it with CM Punk. He did it with Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman does not just manage talent. He elevates them. He gives them direction, purpose, and the kind of calculated strategy that transforms raw power into championship dominance. So when Heyman appears to justify the attack on Seth Rollins, it is not just damage control. It is the unveiling of a master plan that probably started weeks or even months ago. Heyman does not make impulsive decisions. Every word he speaks, every move he orchestrates, it is all part of a larger chess game where he is playing 10 moves ahead of everyone else. The justification that Heyman provides for this attack is going to be absolutely must-see television. Because Paul Heyman does not just make excuses. He reframes reality. He takes what looks like a heinous assault and turns it into a necessary action. He takes what seems like a cowardly 2-on-1 attack and presents it as strategic brilliance. When Heyman talks, suddenly the villains become the heroes of their own story. Suddenly their actions make perfect sense. Suddenly you find yourself nodding along thinking, you know what, maybe Seth Rollins did have this coming. That is the power of Paul Heyman's oratory skills. That is why he is called the wise man, because he can sell ice to someone living in Antarctica and make them feel grateful for the purchase. Now let us think about this from Seth Rollins' perspective, because this is absolutely devastating for the visionary on multiple levels. First, he just captured the Crown Jewel Championship, which should have been the beginning of a celebratory run at the top of WWE. Instead, it immediately becomes the darkest moment of his recent career. Second, he is now facing not one, but two monsters who have already proven they can destroy him when they work together. Third, and perhaps most importantly, those monsters have Paul Heyman guiding their strategy. Seth Rollins is smart enough to know that facing Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed is dangerous. But facing them with Paul Heyman orchestrating their every move, that might be impossible. The injury update from Adam Pearce is going to be crucial because it determines how quickly this story can escalate. If Seth is injured badly enough to miss significant time, then Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed have successfully removed the champion from the equation. They have created a power vacuum at the top of Monday Night Raw. They have opened the door for themselves or others to stake claims to championship opportunities. But if Seth can recover quickly, if the visionary can return sooner than expected, then we're looking at a revenge storyline that could be absolutely explosive. Because Seth Rollins, when motivated by revenge, is one of the most dangerous competitors in WWE history. He will do whatever it takes, cross whatever lines are necessary, to get payback on the people who try to end his career. The ripple effects of this attack are going to be felt throughout the entire Monday Night Raw roster. Because if Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, guided by Paul Heyman, could take out the world heavyweight champion this easily, who else is safe? Who else becomes a target? What other championships or opportunities might they set their sights on? This is not just about Seth Rollins anymore. This is about two monsters with the greatest manager in wrestling history deciding they want to dominate everything in their path. That makes everyone on Raw a potential victim. That makes every championship a potential target. That makes Monday Night Raw the most dangerous show in WWE. The brilliance of having Paul Heyman involved cannot be overstated. Heyman brings legitimacy to everything he touches. When he justifies the actions of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, it elevates them from being just two guys who attack someone into being major players with clear motivations and strategic thinking. Heyman does not manage random thugs. He manages future champions. He manages main event players. He manages the people who will define the next era of WWE. So when he aligns himself with Breakker and Reed, it is essentially a proclamation to the entire world that these two are about to become massive stars, and everyone better take notice before it is too late. What makes this situation even more intriguing is the question of what Heyman gets out of this arrangement. Paul Heyman does not do anything without a reason. He does not align himself with superstars just for fun. There's always an endgame. Maybe he sees Bron Breakker as the next Brock Lesnar, a once-in-a-generation talent that needs guidance to reach his full potential. Maybe he sees Bronson Reed as the enforcer he can use to intimidate and control the locker room. Maybe he sees both of them as pawns in a larger game to regain power and influence in WWE. Whatever the reason, you can bet it is more complex and calculated than anything we are seeing on the surface. Paul Heyman always has layers to his plans, and we are probably only seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. The WWE Universe reaction to this entire situation has been absolutely electric. Some fans are horrified at what happened to Seth Rollins and want to see him get immediate revenge. Other fans are excited about the potential